All right, welcome to today's post-market wrap-up. This is Christian Fromhertz, CEO of Tribeca Trade Group, and you look at the S&P today, basically flat, but some really interesting movers and a lot of money to be made in the market today, with the S&P or S&P 500 exactly flat on the day. Really, where the action is in single stocks and option flow. We saw a lot of good trades today, and a lot of different groups. So we'll kind of start with the best performing group today, which looks pretty good to me. Metals and mining up 2% today. And a nice move here above the 200-day moving average. If you want to take a look a little bit closer here, you could see this thing has kind of been flirting with the 200-day moving average a couple times since we kind of broke down here. Look at that VPOC up here. What a great top signal that was on that purple line, version point of control. So we've been sitting here kind of going back and forth a bit, a little bit of whipsaw around the 200-day moving average, which is the white line on my charts. But really nice day today, and looks like it's trying to create a little bit of a distance above that 200-day moving average. Nice candle, I would say, in months. Closing on the highs up 1.8%. So you start to look at a whole bunch of groups in this area. One of which comes to mind is steel. So in the metals and mining, you have a little bit of uh, trades that are going to, not trades, but positions that may kind of cancel themselves out, because XME, the chart that I just had up, is both is miners, which are both gold miners, which generally don't move the same as steel stocks. So if you just look at steel stocks, which is the point I wanted to make next, SLX, take a look at this move, up 1.4%. Again, 200-day moving average, and since then I got long SLX in my cash trend portfolio, which we do have a systematic trend portfolio at Tribeca Trade Group, which is doing pretty well. So I just got into this above the 200-day moving average, and it's going. So it's working quite nicely here. In this group, we did see some Rio calls last week. Those calls are working. I did not take that trade, but pointed out in the trading room, it just didn't fit my portfolio perfectly at the time. I think I was actually going away on vacation, so I think that was probably more than anything else. I did take this trade today in CMC, so another steel-related name, I would say. 11,000 of these July 20 calls, and some of which were swept. So CMC, I got long in the cash trend TTG portfolio. My stop will be an ATR below the 200-day moving average. So we'll see where this one wants to go. If not, this is a very easy trade, because you want small losers and big winners. So if this thing happens to turn around and goes below the 200-day moving average, I'll get out of it very quickly for a small loss. So for now, it's above the 200, and somebody likes this in the short term, as they bought, looks like 11,000 of the July 20 calls. And there was a lot of trades like that today. Just a lot of lumpy type trades today. Twitter, we saw calls go up twice. We saw a lot of repeat action in some names. This has also been above the 200-day moving average. Had a little bit of difficulty here, just reclaimed it. So again, whipsaw move here, but again, nice candle for Twitter, up 3.1%. And it just kind of went that way with a lot of other trades that we saw today. Square, oh my God, what a trade! We saw some Square go up. I was actually I was flying home yesterday, and I had Wi-Fi, so I did enter into the SQ trade that we saw yesterday. We saw some DEES calls that went up, that were swept yesterday. 1,000 of the DEES 23s, pretty decent sized trades considering these. So I went into these yesterday, and my cost basis. What did I do? I did the D's 25. Sorry, I did not do the D's 23s. I did the D's 25s for 266, and they're marking at 365. So this was a small position that I put on in Square. I tried to buy more today when they came in today. Couple, again, real nice trades. They went after the same thing. So they went after the D's 23s again today, several times today. 410, 420. I had tried to pay around like $4 today, and I wasn't going to sweep up. The bid ask was about 30 or 40 cents wide. That was right in here. And the stock kind of held in and just kept on going today. So real nice performer. You can look at this chart. There was rumors. I think Loop Capital was out with a note saying that PayPal should buy Square. I've liked Square, obviously, before that, PayPal also looks pretty good. It made a 52-week high yesterday. But one by one, we just keep seeing different stocks and different names make 52-week highs. It's quite amazing. So further, I think that was probably the best trade of the day. Um, so there's a bunch of other ones. Tesla too. I mean, they bought Tesla calls earlier in the day. Look at Tesla finishing up 3.5% today. So I mean, these are just ginormous moves. So if you're just watching, I watched the S&P for a little while today while there was the email headline, which caused the indices to go down a little bit. But in our trading room, what we did was we bought it. A bunch of us kind of bought things on the lows of the session. It just seems a little bit of a stupid headline for the market to sell off that bad on. When it comes down to it, what is that? What do those emails have to do with how companies are doing, right? Basically little to none. So really nice buying opportunity that we got today. So Tesla, we saw some Tesla calls, and then I'm going to talk about some other trades, but I talked about the trade of the day, Square, but then also look at this DBA. So this is something that I've put out a note on. Let me see if I can find it. You can go to tribecatradegroup.com and you could go to our market posts. So I talked about this, and this is typically what we try to do here. We try to put on trades or put together our analysis on what things are moving before we see any option activity. So this is a regular occurrence for us. I know everybody looks at the tape and they look for when a big call buyer. What we try to do is do our homework ahead of time and set it up. I may not enter into all the trades right away, but when I see something that's different on the tape, I kind of have already done my research for a lot of times. So, DBA right at the 200-day moving average, and look at how many of these they went after. And they were mostly small trades. There was one trade that went up a little bit later, you could see for 1,800. But at the end of the day, it's 35,000 contracts. So what is this ETF? It's basically a basket of commodity futures, agriculture futures. So go take a look here, and you could see. So that's the only thing that's a little bit tricky with this ETF is its futures. So they're going to have a little bit of decay with it, but it's cattle futures, sugar, cocoa, wheat, a little bit of everything, some hogs in here as well. But, they talked about the reason for nat gas being up is this heat that the country is seeing. So what better way of a theme to play this? And again, so I have this note that I put out, I think it was on the 3rd, I want to say, the 3rd of July. Yeah, 7-3. So talking about that, what I noticed was the move in wheat last week. And then I started to look at a whole bunch of other names that you can kind of play because of this. There it is right here. So wheat made this huge move last week, getting above the 200-day moving average. So that's what kind of turned me on to the group. But so I'm in that trade. So I took the DBA today, just too many of those trades, and already a profitable trade because that trade hit on the lows of the day. So that I would also with Square, I would call the trades of the day. But up and down, you can kind of see just a lot of chunky trades. CX, which is on a 52-week high. There were some nice Yelp calls. There was an Alta dip buyer today. There was also a nice Conagra dip buyer, which I took this trade as a small counter trend trade. Take a look at this thing. It's a RSI of 19 on my charts. So the last time this got oversold, it was worthy of a couple dollar bounce. Kind of what I'm looking for here, considering how oversold it is. Notice you got that VPOC down there, which came pretty close to being taken out. So, I would be looking for in this name maybe a bounce to 34.5, 35. Conagra all the way back here and some nice support down here. So again, I think an interesting dip buy if you're looking for a counter trend trade, which I don't, the way I trade counter trend is I trade much smaller than I trade my trend trades. It's just not one of my favorite trades, but I do participate in them once in a while once it lines up correctly. This trade caught my eye too. A couple different semi names started to kind of see some activity at the end of the day. Click. This is an interesting trade. This is not your typical semi name. This is semiconductor manufacturing. They make parts related to spare parts and packaging materials used to assemble semiconductor devices. So take a look at the volume that was on today. Now, it did have a nice move up today, but look at the volume today. So somebody bought some calls today on this activity. Still, like a lot of semi names, recovering, but not over the 50-day moving average exactly. I'm long Teradyne as well from the other day. Teradyne working out really nicely. Then a couple other trades that came in. ASML right at the last 5 minutes of the day. So people are still buying. We've seen some call buying in a couple different semi names, but right, this ASML is another semi name, I believe. Yeah, semiconductor manufacturing. And then also right at the end of the day, there was another one, ILMN, that also traded too. Kind of some sneaky stuff that went up at the end of the day. This one's different. This is life science equipment. But some calls went up right at the end of the day in this one. So another name to kind of keep on your watch list. And I feel like I can keep going for like another 5 or 10 minutes with all this activity. But Caesars, this is a name that we saw call buying back here, and it looks like they've been adding more the last couple days. So Caesars CZR has been a nice trade. It looks like they bought some more January 14 calls. So going out plenty of time for that trade to work. Cliffs, I mentioned the strength in the material names. So Cliffs, another steel name, also seeing some short-dated calls. So just a ton of option activity. So if you're just looking at the S&P, if you're trading, if you missed today's trading and you're kind of looking like, oh, the S&P's up, down 7 basis points. Just a lot of standout areas. What didn't perform today? The financials, had another day off today. Bonds were up a little bit, up 17 basis points, but they didn't participate. The home builders didn't participate. A couple of those names were downgraded this morning off of a research note this morning. So you did have the reason why that's talking about this nice performance in some of these groups. China internet names included. We saw NTES calls last week, which I own. Take a look at the close today in NTES. Really really nice move at the for the end of the day, since we saw those calls that went up. I think that was here on this day. So this name is up about almost $20 from there. So but the whole group, you go to the KWeb ETF, and was one of the best performing groups today, up 1.2%. A lot of people played BABA today, so a lot of opportunities in this market. We're starting to see some things either have an MACD crossover or getting pretty darn near close to it, depending on which group you're looking at. So that's it for today's call. Thanks very much, and have a great evening.